Wait, this is a fairly new Mackie mixer, and somebody has been a bad mixing person. So they snapped off the main master slider. You see this happen quite a bit because it's all the way over on the edge, and when you put it back in the case, it catches on the side. It's usually the dumbest things that make that happen. So we're going to go through the process. I can't find any videos, any instructions whatsoever on how to get this thing apart. So we're going to do it all together. We're going to figure it out. So here we are. We got it on the bench. First thing I've already done is I took out the screws on the back. Seems like a logical thing to do. And these sides, usually on these things, you got screws up here that hold the sides on. These don't have any screws. It's just 2 screws on either edge right here. So, and you can't get the back panel off before. We're probably gonna have to take all the knobs and screws off the top anyway, but like we'll see that. I like to do as little work as possible on this stuff, you know, as we go, but eventually, most likely, we're gonna have to pull all the stuff off the top. But I'm trying to figure out, so it doesn't, these things are pretty secure. I'm kind of going back up to all my techniques of fixing keyboards and stuff, because keyboards have a lot of the side panels all the time. You see this. So I'm thinking, sometimes there might be like a clip or something inside that's holding it, like they snap on, maybe. And you got to think, like at the factories, they design these things to be assembled easily. But they're kind of like a Da Vinci puzzle. So let's see if we... Oh wait, did you just see that? Did you see that? Oh, you see? You got to handle these things. You can handle them carefully, but move them around because things like this happen. Look at that. It slides in. It's a slide lock. So lock, slide, comes on. Aha. All right. We love it when this stuff happens. So that one comes off like that. Woohoo! Take that, Mackie. Don't want people. That's a new design too. I don't think I've ever seen a Mackie mixer with that type of thing. Okay, and now we got more screws on the edge here, because that's kind of one of the purposes of these things. They cover up the mounting ugliness on the edge. They just kind of tart it up, make it look nicer. So we'll take these screws out. Looks like we have the back off. Now, you don't want to just tear it off, because a lot of times they have stuff mounted on the backs of these things, like power supplies and stuff. And sure as shooting, look at that. All right. So always be careful when, you know, first, whether it's a speaker, mixing board, whatever, it's like you get all this mishigas down here that likes to grab hold of things, and that's the 7th screw right there. So, and the nut fell off of there. You definitely want, when stuff like that happens, pay attention to it. So I'm going to pick that nut back up and stick it back up there so it doesn't fall off. And this looks like it's being held together with a little Molex connector here. You can pull that off. There's another connector up here with black and red wires to the power switch. I'm going to pull the power switch wires off if we can. There we go. One. Black one is being a bit of a nuisance. Now we can pull and put this aside so it doesn't cause us any more pain and suffering. All right, now, and as we suspected, there's no way to get this thing out without taking apart the whole freaking thing. Figured that would happen, but before you go ahead and start taking stuff off the front, you gotta, and it's something that you've never seen before. You want to make sure you get a good lay of the land. See these boards back here, they're held on with some screws that are probably on some turrets underneath there. Those might be secured to the top. You got to keep that in mind. A lot of things on here that can break if you take them off the wrong way. Speaking of which, let's go back to this nut. And there was a little star washer that fell on. There it is. We don't like small bits of metal roaming around freely inside the chassis of an electrical unit. Okay. All right, so next thing that we've got to do is start pulling the top apart. All this work to get that one little sucker right there. So we're going to start yanking knobs. I'm going to get a couple trays. These are drawers from my supply cabinet. I purposely left like 2 rows of them empty so that if I need something like this, I can just kind of go and grab it. And of course, we take pictures of the board and see what it looks like, because once you take the knobs off, you're like, which row was blue, which one was gray? It's like you get white, gray, blue, blue, white, blue, green, 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 yellow, white, or gray. That's a gray. But we have pictures, so you don't need to put any pressure on the thing whatsoever. Be very careful. There's those. Now I gotta get my little screwdriver. Oh, you know, I think I got one of those little kits I was talking about right here. Look at that. Hey, who knew? Yeah, and it's got the right bits and everything. Look at that. Got another one over on the electronics bench. This is not the electronics bench. That's over on the other side of the room. I just happened to be over here because I got other stuff on it. Over there, we just gotta find the right size. I think it's right there. Okay, so here's the point where you got to start planning for the jettison of this board. You don't, as you can see, it's got a couple inches here that you take out all the screws like that, it's just going to go clunk and fall down. We don't want it to be banging around at all. So once it comes out of the casing, what you do is you put a couple of little crash pads underneath it. Washers everywhere. Ball them up so that it has a nice soft spot to land on. It's not even going to land, it's just going to sit comfortably. So before you get too far down the road, finish taking out these screws. Looking at this board and the way that it fell out, we were right. I should have gone with my gut. We have to take this board out, I think. Yes, we're going to take that board out. We might not have to take this one out, but that one definitely. Because this one is not moving. The other thing is that these are nice tiny little ribbon cables here. I don't want both boards to be connected looking at these things, so we want to take these boards out separately. So these little connectors, you have to be very careful. These will this one will just pull right out, but it's got some silicone on there. We have to peel that off first, which it's peeling off pretty easy, so I think we're all right. Still gotta be very, very careful. There we go. So that's the easy one. You know, the other one's not like they're so difficult, but these are, this little black piece right here, that's a slide. That's like a clamp that goes in, and that's going to, it's not going to pop off all the way. It's just going to slide back a little bit. Take a screwdriver very carefully. I stand corrected. This isn't a slide. This is a flip up. So it flips up like that. Very easy. I love these. So you can flip this one up too. Boop. And those ribbon cables just lift right out. No problem. We also have a... All right, so that takes care of that. That's how you get those off. Be very careful. Do not break these cables. I mean, don't break anything, but be very careful about those cables there. Okay, ready to take out board number 1. Be very, very careful. Numero uno. We have no business with this board. This one is fine just the way it is. All the parts are presently accounted for. Put that over here. Very carefully. Now we got to take this board out here. It's held on by 4 screws and 2 nuts. And unless we can finagle it. No, we can't get, see that the tops of those shafts on the side just won't get out all the way. It's just easier to do it this way. Doop. Freedom. All right. Okay. That board is out. Now we can take this one out. So we can begin working on it. Means we're going to have to take off another connector or 2. I'll actually leave this one on. This is the connector that goes to the... I mean, we're going to... You know what? Let's just take the USB board off rather than... Those... See, this board and those wires look kind of on the delicate side, and it's just smarter to take the board out rather than removing the silicone. And sometimes you got to make good decisions when you're working on this stuff. Okay, now you can get the board out. Almost. Jeez. It's not one thing, it's another. A little clip on the side. It's holding the board in. All right, that's got to come out. We can put that on later. All right, now. Look at that. All right, great. And we are free of the cabinet as well. Beautiful. Put that aside now. Now we have our board, the board in question, the board with the dragon tattoo, the board with the broken slider pot, right there. So, here's new sliders. I think they're identical. They got the same part number on the back, A103. Well, actually, that's not a part number. It's an A taper 10K slider. But they're both stereo. They got 4 pins on them and 2 pins on this side. And you can't just stick any old part into this thing. You actually have to have whatever Mackie used in this particular model. They change them every now and then too. So one Mackie is not equal to another Mackie necessarily. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But you want to inspect, making sure that. And they told me that this was actually the replacement part for this thing. But so I got these from Full Compass, which is a site. They're a third-party distributor of lots of stuff, and they do Mackie, and they can get you parts for them most of the time, sometimes not. But the thing is, you have to ask for these. You have to actually email them and talk to somebody and say that, hey, I got this thing that I need, and this is what I need for it. Because these came in a whole kit. So it came with, like, which is great, you know, it's like, it came with, you know, some switches and some pots and stuff. So if ever, you know, I'm sure I'll be seeing more of these later on, but all we need is this one though. And so, the one closest to me, it's right here. So we got to desolder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little spots there. And you got to do it very carefully because, as you can see, you've got a lot of surface mounted components, all these little resistors and capacitors and that op amp there. You can't be touching any of that stuff. You got to be very, 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 very careful. And using a solder sucker, now these days all electronics use what's called, say it with me now, lead-free solder, right? Lead-free solder, as environmentally sound as it is, the otters and the beavers and the fish love us for it, but it sucks to solder with when doing it like this. So I always, you know, we have lead solder here for a reason. But if you try to desolder this, just heating it up and sucking it out, it's very sticky stuff. And so what I do is I'll tin each connection. You see what I'm doing, right? Just give it a spot and float them right on top of the lead-free stuff. And it kind of acts as that just gives it more weight so that when you're sucking it out, watch this. It gets all of it out of the hole. You want to keep a nice clean tip on this thing. Get the bulk of it out with the sucker. And then we'll go and use the braid to get the rest of it out. It does not, it will stick to desoldering braid, but lead solder sticks a whole lot better. I want to make sure that we get it out as clean as we possibly can. Don't want any traces to break. Don't want anything to break. All right. Get that one partially orf. Do the same thing to this side. Another thing you can do sometimes is, if you can get underneath there, you can cut the legs off and then you take them out one by one. These things are so tightly installed, like I can't get underneath there with my snippers. Well, I think I might have moved it. No, it's just a bit too far out. So things are wiggling, and there you go. All in one piece. That's what you're looking for right there. Bingo. So, take a sip of your coffee. It's a well-deserved treat. Put the braid away. I got a little spray bottle of isopropyl alcohol, just to give those solder ports there a little cleanup. That gets rid of the rosin from the flux. It burns up and turns into a little bit of a maple syrup. You want to get that off of there so that you get a nice clean place to solder to. And then go through with the braid one more time, and if you need to, this actually came out really clean. Real happy about that. Check the other side of the board here. Yeah. Perfect. Like all the solder came off. But sometimes it doesn't, and you want to make sure it does. So you go through again with the braid, just give it a heat up, suck out any more remaining residue in there. And now we'll put the new... All the hard work is done. Now we just have to put it back together. New pot, boom. There we go. Easy as pie. Boom. And that's all. Like, we went through all that pain and suffering just so that we could do this. And now it's done. It's like 30 seconds of, like, actual... what are you gonna do? It's a great time to clean all the dust and schmutz off of the face of your board. Now it's going to look brand new. Most people would think of that. I don't always. I did on this time. Remember that this side goes in first. Like that. Drops right into place. Put this board in while we've got it on its back. 4 screws. Plastic thread screws, if you please. I'm getting these back in. I'm actually going to use the old school screwdriver. I was getting these out of these things, but they're screwing into plastic though. And if you're not careful, even if you are being careful with a powered screwdriver, you could like get in there, spins it one too many times, and then you end up stripping the screw out. This one, you just get them in snug and leave them. They're fine. All right, so now that these are out, what I'm gonna do is put in a couple screws just to hold the thing up. So that I can get everything back attached on the inside and not have to worry about the boards moving around on me. Okay. Those boards are secured. So getting these ribbon cables back in here, all you gotta really do here is set it into the slot here. Make sure that the little sucker's flipped up. My big sausage fingers are too much for these, so you get it in there, slip it down, and then all you gotta do is just flip down that little thing, and you're good. Sometimes their designs for like easy assembly, and when you're taking it apart, they can be a real headache. But when you're putting them back together, you can see why they did it in the first place. Okay. Oh, right. Well, that makes sense. Okay, get the USB port back in. And it's always incredibly important to double check your work before you start putting things back together. Make sure you've got all your wires back into place where they're supposed to be. Make sure all the connectors are connected and tight in their sockets. And make sure you didn't forget anything. It's the worst thing is like when you get the back, put back, all the knobs are on there, all the nuts and screws are back where they're supposed to be, and then turn the thing on and it doesn't work. And you're scratching your head, wondering what the hell you just did. Not sure. Just kind of tossed all the screws in here. One's for that USB. Those would be machine screws with a Phillips head on them. That would be these two. Always remember which screws go where. Good, 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 good. We got that clip. It's a pain in the Varschnuckus and the zip tie for this this wire here so that it's not flopping against the board. I get a little piece of double stick tape here. This little clip needs to go on the side of the like thusly, so that I can clip in there like so. And the zip tie, get that ground cable and the ribbon cable's all tethered together like that. All right, now we're ready to put it all back together. We have the green light. Oops. So you just put down like one row of your knobs, and like these are like blue, blue, white, blue, but these last three, they're all blue. These are all green, and you know. It'll make sense later, I promise. Can't really see what I'm doing here, but we're going to connect the black wire to the black wire, the red wire to the red wire. It's a very complicated process, this. Honestly, like the most complicated thing is just keeping your brain in order, making sure that you actually connect the wires to where they need to go, lest you put it together with connections undone. And then when you turn it on, you're scratching your head wondering why it doesn't work. Boom, boom, boom. We are on the home stretch. Oh, that's right, we have screws on the side. Okay, so here's a fun little trick when you're putting things back together. Amplifiers, cabinets, speakers, whatever. Sometimes you'll put things back and you'll put in screws, and then your screw holes might not line up. Oop. Like you'll stick a screw in there. What you do is you take a nice little screwdriver, very carefully, stick it in one of the screw holes, and then you can line the other ones right up, and then boom. Doing that saves you a lot of headaches. Easy peasy. Of course, these are number ones. Everything else is number twos. So I got the mic plugged in here, and we have a working mains master slider. Check one, check two, check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. So everything seems to be working. So he had to go through all that trouble to fix one of those. So be careful with your stuff. Let this be a lesson to you. Be careful about how you handle your equipment. These knobs, they'll snap right off if you hit them the right way. But now you know how to take it apart and fix it if it ever happens to you. If you feel like you're going to have the sand to tackle it yourself, it can be done very carefully, very methodically. And honestly, with this one, the toughest part I found with this one was taking the wings off of it. You saw that when I was just like, you don't know where the screws are. It's usually there's screws holding this stuff in, but there wasn't. They slid off. So, you know, you have to kind of think about that stuff whenever you're working on anything. If it's going to be like an amplifier or a keyboard, they all kind of have their own little Da Vinci Code way of going together and coming apart. And you have to just be patient with it and work the situation, work the problem until you figure out exactly how. Don't go at it with a hammer and a screwdriver, even though you might be tempted to do that. I was tempted to do that when it was happening. Believe me, I almost did, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because it was a lot easier than that. It was much more simple than what my mind was making up. So anyway, that's kind of my process. Hope this helps you out. We'll see you at the next one.